Born a Pariah, Remain a Pariah is the title of the latest installment of Ezekiel Kralen's story about the two little dogs and his legal problems. Mostly legal problems these days, but the two little dogs, they're always there anymore. Ezekiel Kralen wrote email correspondence from May 11th last year. Subject, conversation with my attorney. About a half hour after Deke and dogs departed, my attorney called me. Early this morning she emailed me to say she can't do 9:30 because of other obligations, and she's still trying to get in touch with a blah-blah's attorney, so she'll call me back later in the day. But when I picked up the phone and looked at the screen, it didn't say Magdalena or any name for that matter, so I tapped on the call screen option with the following output. Rate transcription quality, thumbs up or thumbs down. Hi, the person you've reached is using a screening service from Google and will get a transcript of this call. Go ahead and say why you're calling. Hello, Mr. Crowley. This is Magdalena Elfinhorn. I talked with the lender's attorney, and it seems fine with just having us released accountants to the landlord. With just having us released accountants to the landlord in the way of a check, and then you can pay April-May. He's going to send me the details, and then if I have your permission, we can release different to the landlords, the since we as an interest account. Thanks. Connecting you now. As you can see, Watson, the transcription mangled her surname as well as mine and left much to be desired overall. No doubt her lovely Dutch accent didn't help any, but be that as it may, I saw the name Magdalena and realized it's her just calling from a different phone, so I connected, said hello, and she updated me regarding rent payment. They're fine with Bay Area Legal Aid paying them via my escrow account, which covers the first 10 months, and I can pay for the next 2 myself, April and May. Then I brought up my concern about exactly how I should get my check to them. I could just deliver it in person and get a receipt right off the bat. Their office is an easy ride on the light rail from my street to theirs, but I don't really care to remain the center of attention over my controversial reputation investigated by Kevin's hostility and the bogus lawsuit slapped on me by another resident over a dog bite that never occurred, which attention would renew itself every time I drop off my check, because once every month a blah blah and crew will be reminded I'm the longest-term resident here, paying the lowest rent by far. But I guess no matter how I deliver my check at this point, I'm forever stuck with that stigma. Magdalena had a good laugh over that, as did yours truly, so I forged ahead with the badinage a bit longer. But I'm used to it. I've been treated like a pariah since the day I was born, and I've long since learned to take it in stride, accept it as just another challenge to better myself. In fact, at this advanced stage in my personal growth, I think it's hilarious, especially since I always come up smelling like a rose. We discussed further possible options on how I could pay my rent from now on, instead of just slipping it under the doddering old coot's door. I can't expect a receipt from him upon handing over my check, I noted, because he's usually not around, and it would probably take me many tries to finally catch him in person, and even so, he'll probably be annoyed to draw me up a chit right then and there. He's hostile to me and probably senile. She then asked how other tenants pay their rent. I said I have no idea. I just assumed that, like me, with a check slipped under his door. Have you seen any other checks slid under his door? She queried. Well, no, I haven't, I admitted, but I never bothered to crouch way down with my nose touching the carpet to be sure. Besides, he probably snatches up each check soon as he returns to his apartment, and he does that many times a day, what with manager responsibilities throughout the building and checking up on our maintenance man. At least he did it until he fell ill. I see, Ezekiel. So maybe you could talk to somebody else who lives there, how they pay their rent, she suggested. I mused. I prefer to have little to do with other residents, seeing as they most likely feel the same way about me. That's just modern living in a large apartment. Besides which, due to this recent brouhaha around me, I don't know who's succumbed to the gossip, and therefore who I should or shouldn't bother with. I used to have the occasional friend in this building now and then over the decades. The last one was 9 years ago. Michael moved in right next door to me, but barely 2 years later he upped and died. Not that old either, just 56. Long story short, I don't feel comfortable asking any resident how they pay their rent." "I understand perfectly," Magdalena sympathized. "Let's see then. I could talk to a blah-blah's attorney about options to pay your rent other than the usual. Does that sound amenable to you?" "Yes, it does," I agreed, because I think the usual, slipping a check under the door, is a sloppy way for any property owner to handle rent payments. "I agree," she replied. "But first let's focus on getting the first 10 months paid off, and then we'll figure out a good solution for your future payments. I will need you to send me an email giving permission for BALA to use your trust fund for that." "Fine," I answered. "You'll have it just minutes after we hang up." "I will also ask their attorney if a blah-blah has your April check and is just sitting on it," she reassured me. "After all, his attorney said you should start paying your rent again even before the escrow sum is delivered." "Right, he did," I replied. "First they wouldn't accept my rent for almost a year. Then they suddenly turn around and hit me with a 3-day notice to pay up or quit. That's ridiculous." "Yes," she agreed. "It's awfully harsh of them to do that, when they really should have sorted things out with a simple email exchange." "I don't think they want to let go of the last century before email was even a thing," I quipped. Magdalena then excused herself because she had a tight schedule. I told her thanks for everything, and she said she'll contact me again very soon. What a conversation, eh, Watson? This whole day has been beautiful, every single friggin' moment, good to the last drop. So here's the email she requested. Begin. Subject: permission to pay the first 10 months of my back rent owed to a blah blah realty. I hereby grant permission to Bay Area Legal Aid via my attorney, Magdalena Elphinsborn, to reimburse a blah blah realty for back rent due from June 2022 to March 2023, which at $301.59 per month comes to a total of $3,015.90. Please note there will be a remaining amount in my escrow account of $1.10. Also, I have always written out my rent payment to 9666 Market Street Apartments, so I presume BALA should as well, unless some other arrangement has been made with their attorney. Signed, Ezekiel Kralin. And then some 20 minutes later I sent her this. Begin. Subject: a good solution, I think. I always slide my rent check under the manager's door at night. I will shoot a brief date-stamped video of my placing the check in the envelope while I'm standing by his door and inserting it beneath the door. The next morning I can text him, "Did you get my rent check?" That way, if he doesn't reply by the end of that day, I'll know something's up. While it's my right to get a receipt immediately upon payment in order to minimize any possible resistance by the resident manager, I'd prefer that a blah-blah's attorney request he abide by this new arrangement. Otherwise, I can deliver the rent check each month to a blah-blah's office on 31st Avenue near Terraval, a pleasant ride on the light rail from the Castro station. Third option, send my check by certified mail. So you can bring this up to a blah-blah's attorney with preference for option 1. Thanks again. Oh, also ask the attorney if there's any way I can pay my rent electronically. That would be my most preferred option, if at all possible. Thanks. And have a superb weekend, Magdalena. Signed, Ezekiel.